Fidelity Month. This is a fascinating effort, and I'm excited to have you here to talk with us about this. Now, this is your fourth year doing this. Tell us, for those who don't know, what is Fidelity Month?
Fidelity Month is a month that we dedicate ourselves to some traditional values that have eroded over the past couple of decades, really, or 3 decades. And those are the values of faith in God, fidelity to spouses and to families, and then love of country and community. Back in 2023, I was alarmed to read a poll in the Wall Street Journal. It confirmed what I sort of intuitively sensed with hard data. And the poll said that many traditional American values had kind of fallen by the way. It was a massive reduction in people's belief in the importance of God and fidelity to God, a massive reduction in people's sense of the importance of family, a massive reduction in people's understanding of the importance of love of country. The only value that had gone up in people's estimation was the importance of money. Now, money is very important, and we want everyone to be prosperous and lead financially secure lives, be able to provide for their children and so forth. But money's not the most important thing. And compared to those very fundamental core values of God and family and country, it should be a distant fourth.
Yeah.
But there it is, on the rise while these traditional values are on the decline. Just one more thing about that, Billy. Those values, faith in God, commitment to family and to spouses, love of country, those were traditionally, throughout our history, from the very moment of the American founding, our fundamental sources of unity and strength. Because the United States of America is different from other nations. We have a doctrine we call American exceptionalism. And that doesn't mean that we Americans are better than everybody else. We should be beating our chests and saying
perfect
how
or
wonderful.
sinless or right.
No, none of that. It's about this. For most countries in most of history, the country's strength and unity has been founded on shared bonds of ethnicity or religion or race or cultural history or something like that. Most nations are blood and soil nations or throne and altar nations. But we Americans, from the very start, come from different places. We practice different faiths. We're different races. We're different ethnicities. We have different cultural histories and family histories. So what binds us together? Well, number one, of course, historically, it's been commitment to our institutions of Republican government, to the principles of the Declaration of Independence and the institutions and ideals of the American Constitution. But that's too thin just by itself. It's important. It's absolutely critical, actually. But it's too thin by itself. We've also been united, different races, different ethnicities, different religions, still united by our belief in the importance of God. Our national motto is, under God, in God we trust. Under God is in our Pledge of Allegiance. The very founding document of the United States says that our fundamental rights and our equality are not given by kings or parliaments or presidents or any merely human powers, but by God himself. So that was a critical source of strength and unity, uniting Americans from Europe, Japan, Africa, wherever they came from. And the second thing, of course, shared across ethnicities, across religions, the importance of fidelity in marriage and taking care of your kids and loving your family and sacrificing for your family. And then number three, we were united by love of country. You go to a Memorial Day parade, it's not just white people or black people or Asian people or Latino people. It's people of all races. It's not just people whose ancestors came from England. It's people whose ancestors came from Southern Italy, from Croatia, from Japan, from India, from all over the world, right? So, and different religions. You go to a Memorial Day parade. They're Catholics, they're Protestants, they're Eastern Orthodox people from Greece and the Middle East. There are Japanese people, Chinese people practicing the Eastern faiths. Those are our sources of unity and strength. And boy, if those erode, what are we left with? We're not a common race. Can't build a unity on that. We're not a common religion. Can't build unity on that. We're in deep trouble.
It's so interesting hearing you talk about this because these values that have underpinned the nation. I mean, this show is God, Country, and the American Story. And so this is what we look at on this show all the
Mhm.
time. But going back through the history, seeing what has formed and made America, the power of faith. And like you said, people have different faith systems that they subscribe to, but the idea that there's something bigger than us that we're accountable
That's it.
to, right?
That's it.
Obviously, I'm a Christian, so for me, that looks very specific, right? But for a lot of people, that idea that they're accountable, then family, I mean, all of these things, when you look at the culture, and you've been outspoken on all of this, obviously, you've talked a lot about these issues over the years. When you look at the culture, and you have a unique purview looking at students and younger people as well, what do you think has caused the erosion? Because that's the big question. Obviously, we know where we are, we know what is happening, but what caused it?
I think the primary driver has been the phenomenon that is now, several centuries old, to tell you the truth. And that is the movement towards secularization. And that's primarily a movement among elites. It trickles down. It has profound impact all the way down the socioeconomic chain. But the key driver is secularization among economic, political, cultural elites. Um, a more recent manifestation of that, or consequence of that has itself become a major driver, is the sexual revolution and its intense focus on individual satisfaction, losing the sense of the importance of responsibilities as well as rights, community as well as the individual. Look at the idea of faithfulness in marriage. I mean, that used to be something, people would violate it, but man, they'd feel guilty if they did, right?
Yeah.
And they knew that the ideal was to stay loyal and faithful to your spouse. And divorce was like, when I was growing up, I'm not that old. I can remember when I was growing up, there was only one divorced family in our entire neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the kids in the family, the dad had, run off, but the kids in the family were looked after by all the other men in the community, all the other dads in the community. At little league games or something, we know that particular family, I play with the boys, of course, and know the girls as well, but that those boys didn't have a father around. So all the other dads became the kind of foster fathers for those kids. Well, now, of course, divorce is very common for my children growing up. They knew many, many, many friends who were from divorced families. That consequence of the sexual revolution has just had profound consequences.
Can I add something to that I think is actually really, it's been interesting disturbing to watch. This other element that it's fringe, but it's not, because it's become very prevalent, especially in pop culture. This idea of, having an open marriage or multiple partners in a relationship. I mean, this is something, this idea of a throuple that you're hearing people talk about, and it started almost as a joke, it felt like, and became very real. And you see when people do violate, their marriage, where the other person feels even pressured into that sort of thing. That's part of, there's so many, that's just one element to this that has become a norm almost for some people. I'm not even going to ask you to respond to it. I just wanted to note it because we're seeing more of that sort of thing happen.
That's right. And one thing I've been noticing is that practice, which is technically known as polyamory. It's different from something we've known about historically, of course, which is polygamy, usually in the form of what sociologists call polygyny. That is a man who is the husband in several different marriages. Joe's married to Sally. Joe's also married to Jill. Joe's also married to Anne, and so forth. But polyamory is something new under the sun. There's no historical precedent for it. It's the idea of three, a throuple, or four or five people together in a sexual ensemble where they're all married as one and sexually involved with each other as a unit. And here's what I've noticed, and I find very disturbing. And that is that practice has been glamorized by all the leading media in the country, the New York
And
Times, the
entertainment.
New Yorker
Yeah.
magazine. Oh, yeah, no, it's being pushed. And of course, it is deeply immoral, not only deeply immoral, and this is related to its deep immorality, of course, deeply destructive of human relationships. We were made for marriage. We were made to be in a unit of one man and one woman, in a relationship that is uniquely apt for the generation and education of children. And we find our fulfillment in part in being in that type of relationship, uniquely apt for the rearing of children, even if we don't happen to be blessed ourselves in our marriage with children. So I see polyamory as just a very glaring manifestation of the collapse of some very, very important foundational moral values. But Fidelity Month is meant to push back against that by trying to rebuild our commitment to faith in God. Fidelity, point number one, fidelity to families, beginning with your spouse, but not just fidelity to your spouse, taking care of your kids, being there for them, not just handing them over to the machines to babysit them and so forth. And number three, of course, love of country. Fidelity point number three. They all have to do with faithfulness. That's what fidelity is. It's faithfulness, being faithful to God, being faithful to your spouse and your children, being faithful to your country and your communities, your local community.
Absolutely. I mean, these are the things that have built America. And, I want to ask you a little bit more about Fidelity Month and some of the patterns we're seeing in culture. But I have to ask, obviously, you being at the institution where you're at, being who you are, having ideas that are different and divergent from those around you generally. I've been a college professor as well. I know what that is like to a degree. What has it been like navigating? And I know this is a very general question, but I've always wanted to ask you this. Navigating being so different in a space where the ideology tends to be majority opposite what you think and feel.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's made for a wonderful life, I have to tell you. I have been blessed professionally and in every other way, but speaking about the way in which I've been blessed professionally, despite my, what shall we call them, Billy, heretical views in the Ivy League and in the broader academic culture, I've been treated I've never been discriminated against. Now, I know people who have for their conservative or their Christian or other religious views. I'm not saying it's not there. It's there. I've just been somehow been given a guardian angel or something that has protected me. I've not been discriminated against or mistreated in any way. Billy, Princeton knew what it was getting the moment it hired me because I never tried to fly in under the radar. When I showed up for my job interviews before they even hired me, I was clear about being pro-life, pro-marriage, pro-traditional sexual morality, and traditional morality in other ways as well. And despite those heresies, Princeton hired me, and then it conferred tenure on me, and then it installed me in one of the university's most celebrated and prestigious endowed chairs. Then it allowed me to build my own program, the James Madison Program in American Ideals and Institutions. The university has never in any way restricted or even hinted at restricting what I could say in class, what I could teach, what I could expose my students to in terms of ideas and arguments. The university has conferred upon me every honor that's in its gift. I am a blessed man. And I must say, I'm grateful to Princeton University. I mean, a lot of places that a conservative Christian advocate of the kinds of positions that I hold just would never have been led anywhere near the place. But I'm a dissenting voice at Princeton, no doubt about that. I'm in a minority. I'm not the only one, and I'm not the only out of the closet one, which also speaks well for Princeton. We're a small minority, but gosh, I've suffered no adverse consequences. I've been treated extremely well. I have been blessed. I thank God.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love hearing that. I think that's how it should be. I mean, that's how we should be able to navigate that. And that's another thing I think that makes our country so great and has made our country different is that we have that ability, right? To speak and believe and practice. We have a First Amendment that a lot of other countries don't have. Even some of the countries that have protections for it are showing that you've got Finland and some of these other countries where you're seeing fissures and breaks happen in some of this where it's very disturbing to watch. So I love hearing that. When you look at on the positive side, some of what we've seen faith-wise happen in the last 2 years, since 2023, really, when you had the Asbury quote-unquote revival, people want to debate about that term, but you've had a lot of young people coming to faith, I think realizing that some of what they've been told is not true, and they're looking for that truth. What goes through your heart and your mind, especially with this Fidelity Month coming, when you see those young people and you see these hints of revival happening?
I am inspired by my students, and I have been even before this latest. The secular term we use for it is called the vibe shift.
The vibe shift. I like
this
that.
Latest vibe shift. Now, there is a vibe shift. There is a revival, to use the religious language. But even before that, I've been so inspired by how many of my students, now as you can imagine at Princeton, 3% of the applicants are admitted. So we get extraordinarily gifted students. But I have been just so inspired by how many of my students are not only brilliant, but they're brave. They speak the truth as God gives them to see the truth, even when it's unpopular with their peers, unpopular with their professors, when it's risky to speak the truth. And I've seen so many go off into the world doing such fantastic things and being such bold witnesses. You probably know Ryan Anderson, president of the Ethics and
Yes.
Public Policy Center. He's one of mine. Sharif Girgis, now teaching at Harvard Law School. He's one of mine. Rabbi Meir Soloveichik, who's a very prominent Orthodox Jewish public intellectual who speaks up for all of the important moral causes. He's a former student of mine. Melissa Moskela, who's just written a wonderful book on ethics. She's a professor at Notre Dame. She's a student of mine. And on and on. Daniel Mark at Villanova University, and just on and on and on. I am so proud of them, and I am so inspired by them. And I'll tell you something. Look at what's happening at a place like Princeton. So I established 25 years ago the James Madison Program in American Ideals and Institutions to provide the very best high quality, old school American civic education. We actually learn the Constitution and the principles of Republican government. We have 325 Princeton undergraduates who are formal signed up members, undergraduate fellows of the James Madison Program. And you got to remember, Princeton's a little tiny school. We're not a big university. We only have 7,500 students, including graduate students.
Wow.
So 325 students in the Madison program is larger than almost any, well, it is larger than every major in the university. The students are flocking to my class. I mean, this has been happening for a long time. Students flock to my class. I have some of the largest enrollments in the university, despite the fact that I'm a notoriously tough grader. I had a course last semester with 140 students in it. Didn't give a single A. But the students come anyway because they're open to hearing, the different perspectives, including the perspective that you and I, Billy, represent. I don't ram it down their throats. I don't indoctrinate my kids. I'm against that 100%. Don't like it when professors on the left do it. I'm not going to do it myself. I expose my students to the best that has been taught and said, not only by people on my side, but by people on the other side as well. But when you do that, there's a big market for students. They're eager to learn, and they know that the way to learn is by considering the best that has been taught and said on the competing side. So all this is great. We're at a big, good, important moment, but we got to not blow it in higher education. We're at a moment, what people sometimes call an inflection point, where we could really achieve significant reforms, much needed reforms in American higher education. My goodness, let's not blow it.
I love that. Coming back to, Fidelity Month, just as we close out here, and I could talk to you for 2 hours. There's so much. We'll have to have you back to have more conversation on all of this. But Fidelity Month, you've gone through the values that you're aiming to help instill in people. Where can people go if they want more information? If they want to, commemorate this month? June is known for a lot of things. Obviously, there are other issues that are commemorated that month. And this comes before the 250th anniversary of America, which I think is perfect timing. Obviously, where can people go for more information?
Absolutely. Please go to fidelitymonth.org. fidelitymonth.org. It will tell you what we have planned for Fidelity Month. It will tell you what you can do in your local community, in your local church, how you can take the initiative and be a kind of apostle for the Fidelity Month message. Billy, this is a grassroots movement. It really is. It's not top down. We have no budget. We have no paid staff. It's a grassroots movement, and we're relying on people out there who share our commitment to fidelity to God, family, and country to take the initiative in your church, in your local community. Talk to your mayor about putting out a proclamation of Fidelity Month. Talk to your assemblyman from your state legislature. Get in touch with your congressman, with your governor. Have a speaker at your church. Have a program at your church. Do something in your community center. The fidelitymonth.org website will give you advice and guidance about what you can do. But we need everybody to be involved. In June, when we're going to celebrate Fidelity Month for the 4th year in a row, That seems far away at the moment because we're only in February. It's just over the horizon. It's going to come on us very fast. So let's start planning now. Go to fidelitymonth.org now, and let's start planning for this coming June in connection with the 250th anniversary of the founding of the country, the Declaration of Independence. Let's make it the greatest Fidelity Month ever.
Well, I so appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. Always great to chat with you.
Oh, it's my great pleasure, Billy. I hope to do it again.